Yeah, right way.
What tier is milk? Let's see the road commission has with us.
And I'm totally pretending like we're talking about you, but this time it wasn't about you.
Give, give it if you like.
It was so cute last time.
I've been.
It's frustrating.
Yeah. Oh, no, you're not first.
Right. She can not hurt it. See it back. It's all.
I call the meeting to order. First of all, we'll start off with our invocation, if you would, Renee.
Heavenly Father, we just come before you. We thank you for this time, and we just pray, Lord, that you would give us wisdom from the Holy Spirit to be able to speak your words and to lead, Lord God. And we are here to be servants of the people, and we just thank you for this time and pray that everything that happens tonight would be smooth and in order. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we'll do a roll call if you would, Tracy.
Sir. Carrie.
Here.
Nola. Present. Christy. Here. Jeffrey.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Renee.
Yes, ma'am.
Tracy. Here.
Next, we have approval of the agenda. Anyone wants to make a motion?
Motion for approval of the agenda.
Motion by Carrie, do we have support?
Support.
Support by Nola. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we have approval of past meeting minutes.
Make a motion for approval of past meeting minutes.
Motion by Carrie, do we have support?
I do want to ask you something.
Yeah.
I noticed that there wasn't anything in here. I believe I brought up that we should be looking at all hourly and salary appointment positions for possible salary increases, not just the maintenance. I
Right,
did not notice that that was in here.
okay. Yeah, I think I remember you mentioning that during that time.
I do too.
All right.
That's the
I
only
didn't
thing.
go back and listen. I should have.
I just want to make sure it's noted because I think it's important.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I looked at it.
Tracy can do that. Good, anything else? All right, so with that addition,
I'll make a motion to approve the past meeting minutes with said.
second by Renee. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we have the treasurer's report.
Which is amazing.
You rock.
Any questions about that? No, we will put that on file. Next, we have paying the bills.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Motion by Carrie, do we have support? Support by Nola. Any discussion among the board? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Carrie.
Yes.
Nola.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Christy.
Yes.
Renee.
Yes, ma'am.
Tracy. Yes. Jeffrey.
Yes, motion passes. Next, we have the fire department report, if you would, Chief.
Sir, 83 calls for service, 7 minutes, 30 seconds. Beating that 10-minute mark still. The staff worked all weekend. Got the remaining of the new equipment put on the squad, so it's completely 100% in service now. We're still working on our requests for the budget for the 23-24 budget. And then lastly, no action needed, but firefighter Casey Stiles has submitted a request to leave of absence for 6 months. So,
He's getting a better job. So it's a good thing. Yeah. Good, thank you. Next, we have the planning commission reports, if you would lead.
We met January 31st. There were 2 public hearings at this meeting. First was zoning change 23-01 for a rezone at 1148 and 1230 West River Road from R2 to Ag. Multiple Multiple comments from the public with concerns about potential change. After hearing comments, the planning commission discussed and elaborated on what was talked about at the work session meeting with spot zoning and the scope of the master plan. Motion denied. Second on the agenda was special use 23-01 and site plan review 23-01 at 5821 Fulton Road at the F Bar for private primitive camping. We also heard multiple comments from the public with their thoughts and concerns about the proposed special use. Questions to the owner were discussed as not enough information was provided to make a clear decision. After discussion, motion was tabled until next month for applicant to bring more detailed plans and information. Next on the agenda was site plan review 23-02 for shunting of rental equipment at John's Market. The commission had suggestions for possible changes to the site plan, but the applicant was not in attendance. Tabled for next month. And last was a draft ordinance 2023-05 for pond sand mining site plan review. Reviewed what Stephen, zoning administrator, had, and we're also waiting for more information from the attorney for clarification, and we'll return next month for review.
Perfect. Thank you. Next, we have maintenance and grounds reports. I'll read this. So, written by Nate. Light upgrades, the lights in the shop and parking lot have been successfully upgraded. All fixtures have been replaced and the lighting system is now operating at maximum efficiency. Also, we're able to get 50% of the material costs paid back in a rebate through Consumers Energy. Snow plowing, with the high volume of snowfall this month, the snow plowing operations have been running smoothly and all equipment has been maintained in good working order. Seasonal employees, we're soon going to be posting open seasonal positions for the seasonal maintenance crew. Other maintenance tasks in addition to the above maintenance has also been performed. Routine tasks such as landscaping, cleaning, and general upkeep of land township facilities. Spring cleanup, as the snow begins to melt and temperatures rise, we'll be focusing on spring cleanup activities, including litter pickup, landscaping, and grounds maintenance. The equipment maintenance will be conducting routine maintenance on all equipment to ensure that it is in good working order and ready for the rest of the year's tasks. This may include tune-ups, oil changes, and other preventive maintenance measures. Overall, I'm poised for a busy and productive month ahead with a focus on spring cleanup and equipment maintenance. We'll be working hard to ensure that Dalton Township remains a safe and attractive place for residents and visitors alike. Next, we have our first public comment. And so we have quite a lot at this hearing. I'm guessing quite a number of people here are for the Central Road hearing, and then there's also a FOIA hearing. So both those specifically, we'll have people comment at the time. You can comment now too. It's a public comment on anything on the agenda item. I also believe there are a couple of people here for the board review. I know the board could ask questions of them when that time comes. But if you guys would like to speak on it, I would like you to speak on it now. That way we're only waiting on the hearing items for public during the actual meeting. There'll be quite a bit. So anyone want to come up and speak on any agenda items other than the Central Road hearing and the FOIA request hearing?
I don't know if I want to come up, but I actually work for U-Haul and on the John's Market thing. Was I supposed to be here or was Dieter supposed to be here for that?
So not during this meeting, but ideally during the planning commission meeting, someone would be there to speak on it.
So was there already a planning commission meeting that we didn't get, that we were supposed to be involved with?
There was a planning commission meeting that already took place on it. That was the report that Lee was reading off.
Yeah, January 31st, it's the last Tuesday. Last Tuesday of the month is when their planning commission meets.
Yeah, I was never informed of that. Can I be put on to know when the next meeting of that is going to be?
Yeah, so let me see what's,
Should be on the Dalton Township.
should be on the Dalton Township thing, but let's get to it right now. Last Tuesday.
Yeah, and we can let you connect with
The 28th.
Steve, our zoning administrator, on the side, second from the front.
He called me today about something that he got, but he sent me an old letter saying that it was denied or something.
It was postponed.
Postponed.
Yeah, so that someone can come to that planning commission meeting and speak on some of those issues.
And he didn't let me.
Is that at 6
So
p.m.?
February 28th.
At 6 p.m.?
Those
Yeah,
are-
6 p.m.
Sorry for any confusion.
Good. Anything else? All right, let's move into our decision items. The first one is the land bid opening for a piece on Russell Road. We set a minimum of $11,000. We did receive one sealed envelope. Very well taped.
It's not in four-size boxes.
All right, and so this bid is for $11,031.
Make a motion to accept the bid for the parcel under consideration of Russell Road for $11,030.
31. Motion by Carrie. Do we have a support?
Support.
Support by Nola. Any discussion among the board? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Carrie,
Yes.
Nola,
Yes.
Jeffrey,
Yes.
Tracy, yes. Christie,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes, ma'am.
Motion passes. Next, we have the choice one bank accounts. And this is if we have an employee new coming in or leaving that are on the bank accounts. Mission class accounts, Tracy and Christie can just authorize adding or removing them. But for choice one, they like the meeting minutes. So we specifically need them for this.
Yeah, make a motion to remove Andrew Dennis from all the bank accounts, including choice one.
I'll second that.
Motion by Carrie, support by Renee. Any discussion among the board? Hearing none. Would they like a roll call vote on this? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we have the land sale policy corrections. And so we've been through the land sale policy a few times. I think we have it in place where it's got our three-step process, works pretty good. Lexi deals with it most, and she was noticing that some of the designations on here are slightly wrong. The MH instead of the RM designation for the trailer park district, things like those. So essentially typo selections, those adjustments have been made here.
Let's just see one real quick too. In section 3A4, there's one there too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you are. That one should be changed to RM as well. So if someone wants to make the motion along with making that MH change to RM, that would be good.
Make a motion to approve Dalton Township land sale policy and application as amended with also this typo.
Perfect.
Support.
Motion by Carrie, support by Nola, and Lexi specifically asked me to read that over, and I did, and I still ended up missing it. So. Any discussion among that one? No, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we have the annual meeting resolution for 2023-03. This was based off of the discussion at the last month's meeting. We set it up as March 18th, which is a Saturday at 2 p.m. So that's what this was written up for.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2023-03 for annual meeting.
Motion by Carrie. Do we have support?
Support.
Support by Nolan. Any discussion among the board?
Do you know about it?
It's difficult to arrange around all of the conflicts. Let's do a roll call vote.
Carrie,
Yes.
Nola,
Yes.
Tracy, yes. Lee,
Yeah, yes.
Renee,
Yes, ma'am.
Christie,
Yes.
Jeffrey,
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have the official salary resolutions. So there's a separate resolution for supervisor, clerk, treasurer, and then the trustees, because the trustees are set up as the same wage, even though these three positions are set up as the same wage as well. And on this one, I've written them up for an increase. Right now, it's at 43,000 and something per year for the supervisor, clerk, and treasurer. I've written it up as 45,000. So that's at least the first three.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2023-04 for supervisor salary.
Motion by Carrie. Do we have support? Support by Noah. Any discussion among the board? To roll call vote.
Carrie,
Yes.
Nola,
Yes.
Lee,
Yeah, yes.
Tracy, yes. Renee,
Yes, ma'am.
Christie,
Yes.
Jeffrey,
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have the motion, same thing, but for the treasurer.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2023-05 for the treasurer's salary.
Support.
Motion by Carrie, support by Noah. Any discussion among the board? Roll call vote.
Carrie,
Yes.
Nola,
Yes.
Jeffrey,
Yes.
Christie,
Yes.
Tracy, yes. Renee,
Yes, ma'am.
Lee.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next, we have the same thing for the clerk salary.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2023-06 for the clerk's salary.
Support.
Motion by Carrie, support by Nolan, discussion among the board.
Keep going.
Seeing none, roll call vote.
Carrie,
Yes.
Nola,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Christie,
Yes.
Renee. Jeffrey,
Yes.
Tracy, yes.
Motion passes. Next, we have the trustees. Trustees, obviously, when we came in, all four positions, we're set the same, it only makes sense, and it's $3,000. And we increased that to $5,000. So as it is now, I've left it written up as the same.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2023-07 for trustees' salaries.
I support.
Motion by Carrie, support by Renee. Any discussion among the board? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Carrie,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes, ma'am.
Nola,
Yes.
Christie,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Tracy, yes. Jeffrey,
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have the cemetery rates resolution, and this came up because the rates that we are charged are being raised, so therefore this is written up to raise them in proportion. I've been incredibly happy with the company. Also, when I looked around to find another company, I could not. So we're a little stuck as well.
One thing, can I just comment on this and say that I wish that there were some type of a, not because I am one myself, but a veteran, that there's no,
Veterans discount.
yeah. I mean, just as a sign of respect for people that are, because I know it's got a high, I mean, there's a lot of veterans that are already there, but, so it's just kind of a note, just a side
Well,
note.
didn't they already have something for
have the
veterans
board.
special before?
We
They have
have
it
the
before.
board up at the Twin Lake Cemetery to acknowledge those that have passed.
But I meant for, as far as the cost.
Like financial issues. and-
Yeah, 'cause it's like 100% disabled veteran gets no property taxes, you know? So. it'd be
there are
nice.
some veterans benefits that they get. I don't believe that they're very much. But I will put that information together and have it more readily available. I do want to redo the chart to be a little bit easier to read too.
Able this right now, or pass it as is, make changes later?
What do you think, Tracy? Tracy's the lead on this.
Right.
Yeah, but the increases to us have already taken effect.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I guess I would prefer to approve this now. I can do some
You can always
research.
change it later.
Yeah, I can do some research with this state cemetery group to see, who's doing what.
Okay. All right, I make a motion to approve resolution 2023-08 for cemetery rates.
Motion by Carrie, support by Renee. Any discussion among the board?
No.
Hearing none, roll call vote.
Carrie,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes, ma'am.
Christie,
Yes.
Tracy, yes. Lee,
Yes.
Nola,
Yes.
Jeffrey.
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have the board review members. So board review is about tax exemptions. It's a three-person board, and we can have one alternate on it as well. We had one person step away not too long ago because of health reasons. So obviously I want and need to replace that position. I would like also to add the alternate because it would not be too hard for two people to not be available, and then we can't successfully have a vote on that board, and that would be bad. We ended up with 5 people in total for this, and I've included information that the people wanted for all 5 in the packet itself. I know we have a couple of people here that have put in that information. And so I think the board can ask them questions if they want. Otherwise, I'm looking for 2 motions. I'm looking for 1 motion for the regular board review member, and I'm looking for 1 motion for the alternate,
But we're gonna hear from them first, correct?
if they would like. And if you would like,
I would like. Because I don't know, I only know one person. Well, 2, excuse me, I know 2 people on this list and I don't know the others. So I don't want to put someone's name in there and vote on it if we don't even hear from them. I understand we have paperwork on them, but if they're here, I would prefer to hear from you.
Yeah, and I'll leave that up to you guys. I see at least Dr. Randall Victoria wasn't particularly interested in speaking, which I get. And then I didn't ask Brian if you wanted to speak, if either of you want to speak on it or if you want to answer any questions that the board may have on it. I'm completely fine with that. I don't think anyone else is here for the board review. Is that correct?
Brian's here, Brian Villiers.
Yep.
I
Brian
did
and
try to
Randall.
reach out to Randall today. The 217 area code, so you probably were like, I do not know this person. We did leave a message.
Want me to speak then?
Please do.
My name is Randall Lemoyne. I've spent most of my life working for municipal type governments. I worked for the city of Grand Rapids for 23 years. I was the manager for their stormwater management program. I did everything from going out and actually talking with the citizens that had drainage problems to reviewing all of the plans for new developments. I sat in on the planning commission and the zoning board of review as a expert witness. And my life has been dedicated just to public service. And so I'm retired now. I don't hold my license anymore, but I still want to serve my village and my township.
And you do live within Twin Lake?
Yeah, I still live here. Yeah, I live in the village of Lakewood Park. And I think my expertise as a stormwater management may come in handy here with the township as well.
In the general area that comes in handy repeatedly in different contexts. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect. And do you want to say anything, Brian?
My name's Brian Valier. I've been a lifelong Dalton Township resident. I do a lot of work in the township. I drive truck now. I've actually worked in the maintenance department for the township for like 2.5 years. And worked in a restaurant business prior to that, so I got a lot of knowledge with dealing with the public. And if you have any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer them. No?
Just put a face to a name and appreciate that.
Thank you. Do we have any thoughts or motions from the board?
I want to make a motion to appoint Randall Lemoyne to the board of review.
I'll second that.
All right, motion by Nola, support by Carrie for Randall. Any discussion among the board?
Now, it looks like this is one motion, but is it two?
So I want two separate motions. Yeah, for the regular person and then for the alternate.
Okay.
So I just, because it was the same issue,
Correct.
and I was trying not to, the packet was 151 pages. I didn't want it to be 150.
I appreciate that.
I'm gonna draw a line somewhere.
Tree.
So we have motion support for Randall. Any discussion among the board? Hearing none, roll call vote.
What's this, or Carrie was support?
Yep.
Nola,
Yes.
Carrie,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes, ma'am.
Christie,
Yes.
Tracy, yes, Jeffrey.
Yes. All right, and it passes. Next, we have.
I was originally gonna go with Michelle, but she's not even here. So I'm really more interested in supporting Brian Valier because he at least took time to come in as the alternate. So I make that motion.
I'll second that.
All right, so Nola support by Brian, support by Carrie.
Yep.
All right, any other discussion among the board?
Mhm.
All right,
Did we ask the others to attend? I mean,
Well, do you think they would want to come?
that's all when it was, I had, the biggest inquiry was by Mark. I thought Mark was probably gonna come. Didn't think Lori would. She's, busy with other stuff and I wasn't sure. I mean, Michelle knew what it was.
Well,
I know
that's why we
she's-
figured Lori would, she had a lot in the fight.
Yeah.
And that's so is Michelle. So
She goes to other meetings and stuff like that, so.
She's very busy, that's why I kind of.
I
Very
hope they're not
busy,
Too busy.
very, very busy.
that's all I got.
Good. Any other discussion among the board? All right, roll call vote.
Nola,
Yes.
Carrie,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes, ma'am.
Christie,
Yes.
Tracy, yes, Jeffrey.
Yes. Motion passes. Next, thanks both of you, and I'll work on contacting and organizing for the training for board review and that type of stuff. So,
I'll need to swear you in within the next 10 days,
yes,
so.
be sworn in within 10 days. That's a special state law just for those positions.
So I'll get your contact, I have Randy's contact information, but
You can do it after the meeting
Yeah.
if you and
yeah,
Tracy want.
if you want to stay for the whole meeting, we can do that.
3 hours is kind of a long.
I hope they got that. Your mouth and wife.
We're moving through at a pretty good pace, okay? So, the Heights had a 7-hour meeting not too long ago, so appreciate my short 3-hour meeting. Next, we have the Water Policy Board member. And so obviously, we've been debating the water policy stuff for months, for quite a while. So it was brought up in our split vote last month. You were mentioning that you thought I had a conflict of interest there. I did not see the conflict of interest there. But I also am not particularly interested. I'm on this one, I'm on the Berry Junction Trail. We were able to recruit someone for the library because I'm not trying to collect boards and I'm on water policy and wastewater management.
Build your resume.
And so, yeah, I'm not trying to. I have enough stuff on there. So if this was, I think, the big thing, but if anyone else wants to be on here, if you want to be on there, they're interesting. It's a decent board. They recently switched out because 2 of the county commissioners changed who are on that board, although I think they're not going to show up a ton at these meetings. You will see Kim Sear. Kim does well at showing up, and other supervisors, basically.
You know, you're saying my name a lot, but I'm like, when I look at my schedule, y'all just don't know. I've been nonstop 7 days a week for 2 full months.
When are these meetings? What days are they?
Wednesdays at 10, and that was the one day I was gonna slot as Nolan
So,
Day.
I have the schedule. Yeah, I have the schedule in here. It does have the location as on Apple. That is no longer true because some of the county stuff is moving to where Baker College is. And so it's in there now on Marquette. But otherwise, yeah, it's,
My work schedule wasn't about to shift. I would say I would be interested. Out of 10 in the morning, it's impossible.
yeah, 10. It's a little middle of the day, Wednesday, middle of the week.
I work a 12.5-hour day in those days. So I can't do it. No, I can't do it. Who wants the job? That's the thing.
I mean, it's up to you. So right now we have Tracy designated as a backup, and I told her that you might end up going to this meeting. So, I mean, I'll keep
That's
going if it's necessary. If Tracy wants to go, then I'm fine with that.
I don't mind transitioning
Okay.
to going.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Tracy.
Or alternative.
Well, she can be the
I'll
primary.
be the-
She would go.
She would be the primary.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so motion by Carrie, support by Nola for Tracy for the Water Policy Board. Any other discussion among the board? Roll call vote.
Thank you, Tracy.
Carrie,
Yes.
Nola,
Yes.
Lee,
Yeah.
Renee,
Yes, ma'am.
Christie,
Yes.
Jeffrey,
Yes.
Tracy, yes.
Motion passes. Next, we have the Central Road Hearing and Resolution 2. This resolution is 2023-09. There's technically 2 resolutions that we'll be looking at on the Central Road portion. This first one is the hearing. The second one sets up a second hearing for next month. And so I'm going to open this hearing. And we're going to open the public comment section of the hearing. So if anyone would like to speak on Central Road in favor of it, against it, neutral comments, whatever it may be, I would appreciate it if you come up to the lectern, state your name, we'll hear what you have to say.
I'll go.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Yeah, come on out. And I have your letter in here too.
And when I say this, I just want everybody here to know that I'm not against the road itself. If I lived on that road.
Need your names.
Oh, my name is Jeffrey McKee. I own property on Central Road. It is parcel 61. Do you want the parcel number? 61-07-020.
We're good. We got the letter.
I know who you are.
Okay, thanks. So, I bought this property in 2011. First of all, I object to it just to take my name off there. I bought this property in 2011 for $2,850. The state of Michigan decided in 2012 that it's worth $2,850. And in the state of Michigan Public Improvements Act of 1954, we got this $9,000 fee that's going to have to be paid per property owner. According to the state of Michigan Public Improvements Act of 1954, I would be exempted from this just because it's not going to increase the value of my property $9,000. Matter of fact, I talked to Jonathan Sykes on Friday, the tax assessor, and he said he was unfamiliar with the property, so he talked to the previous tax assessor, and they both agreed that my property would neither go up or down in value. The property is basically, you got the Central Road and the highway run parallel with each other. My property butts up to the highway. It's a big, giant power line easement. It's the T3 power lines, not the ones out in front of your house. This is the big ones that go to Michigan Adventure. It's a huge power line easement, and it's got a strip of trees. There's really no value there. I was told it was unbuildable. I bought the property for deer hunting, and I could only hunt it about 5 years out of 20 because they cleared the power lines out. And when they cleared the power lines out, there's nowhere for the deer to stay in there. So I pay $75 a year right now for taxes on that property. And this would increase my property taxes up to over $1,000, $1,075. So I just would like, if possible, if I could get my name taken off the letter that I signed, or and also in the State of Michigan Public Improvements Act of 1954, it says that I need to give a formal a letter at this meeting. Is that correct?
Yep.
That I object to. Okay, so I'd like to give you that letter.
Is that the same letter that you had emailed to me?
It kind of is. I just put a date and stuff on it. Yeah. Thank you guys too are doing an amazing job. And to be honest with you, I drive down that road in the springtime. It's crap. Like I thought I was gonna get my car stuck in a pothole one time. If I lived on the road, I would be all on board with this, but this is just a useless piece of property. So, well, to most people. Well, okay, thank you. That's it. Okay. Any questions? Anybody?
Your
Okay.
letter's fine.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff.
I'll buy it.
The property butts up to mine. He wants to drive a squat on it. Well, you know that the property is good for about 5 years out of 20 to hunt, isn't it? Yep.
Good. All right. What else? I'll be Central Road paving. On the public comment section of this hearing.
Those in favor?
Advice 222 West Bard Road. So if this gentleman is exempt, then $909,000 some odd dollars would then be divided amongst the rest of us again.
Right.
Why isn't the property divided by linear footage or as opposed to parcels? Because some of those parcels are very small and some of them are very large.
Yeah, so there's basically three ways to do it. You can do it by linear footage, front footage. You can do it per parcel so that they're all the same. And you can do 50 one way and 50 the other way. And so it's obviously a weird process. I do not like the special assessment process. I don't like the petition process. And I don't think it's good as far as the way it's structured and set up for the township level, the county level for drains, any of that type of thing. Causes a big political fiasco each time. Right, so it's obviously not structured well. And the guy that had come and collected the petitions, he thought that it would be most supported to do it by parcel. So that is the way that we've got it divided up now. That's the way it was done on Michelinda, and he was kind of basing the project somewhat on that. So.
Okay, I'll add to that and get up, I guess, and talk. I'm Jim Brown. I own 18.9 and then 21 and now just over 22. And somehow I keep losing property, somehow or some way. But to speak to that, I think I have like 5 parcels that are into one parcel,
Okay.
which again, obviously that would affect if I were charged 9,000 per parcel, I would be against that. So with it being, but again, I'm not sure of how that affects me personally, and my property, because it is 22.16 acres now, according to somebody that called me from the township, that they figured out that they found some more on my property, which I was scared to lose 3 acres of my property, because before I didn't even live on an acre there on Central Road. So I was happy to see we found it. But now that I have like separate parcels, but it's technically one parcel, I'm wondering, how does that affect me? Am I just paying 9,000, or am I paying for all 5 of those parcels?
You have one official
Parcels.
parcel number.
Okay,
All of those were combined.
combined into
You
that.
have
Okay.
that paperwork when you bought it. They were all combined. I don't know, was it Jonathan that called you?
Yes.
Okay, I haven't.
Because I was concerned about that, the acreage thing that would be.
Yep, Yeah, I just left him that information
Yep.
and so, I'm not sure where that is in the paperwork. I'm guessing he just is updating your parcel record.
Yeah,
Um,
first, they had an old survey and somehow it got,
okay,
somehow,
yeah,
somebody misplaced some acreage, so. I was glad to see that. I think it do. Yeah, I know, I was like, the big thing was the state of Michigan had 6 acres across the highway, which I hadn't seen before either, and I was kind of concerned about how, or why the state of Michigan had 6 acres over there across from my property, and kind of thought maybe they had snaked some away from me. So I was glad to see that mine was still there somehow or something.
Yeah, there are some people that have multiple parcels on here, but if you already have them combined, then
Yeah,
they're kind of-
yeah, and that's kind of what I just want to make sure that that's the way it read, and I wasn't getting charged, like she said, Leonard, your foot, to where personal, yeah, I can see where that is, but I think some of those are, could be split, but. So is that the way it's going, is that the way they got it set up?
Here is the list, and what's your address?
4040 Central.
40 Central, James Brown, yep, you're just listed down here once.
Okay.
So what's up with the people that are listed down here twice? How is that happening?
they have 2 parcels
And they
on
have,
the road. So they could combine and get charged once, and the money would redistribute.
Has anybody reached out to them to inform?
Okay, thanks. They get the letters on this stuff, we'd have to postpone it a year, probably be there too.
Somebody said something, Ed Colgrove, been here for almost 15 years. Said something about 2 properties on the road.
Yep.
I don't have 2 properties on the road, but I'm on here twice.
Okay.
My second property is inland, and it's my property, then Angie Sutter's.
You have an easement that goes back.
So you have, right, the 2 parcels with access to the road, so like if you sold that back parcel, that someone would build on there.
That parcel ain't gonna be sold unless it's to my daughter, so she can move up from Indianapolis. Otherwise, that property is staying in my name till I die.
Right.
And further than that, if I could do it,
If you combine it with the other property on Central, then there would only be one charge, but,
But only if they were fully combined,
right.
not if they're left
Right,
in 2
yes,
parcels.
and so if this passes through, and according to the letter that I got from you, I believe it was email, it's gonna be just about $1,100 a year, maybe a little bit more with the interest and the fees
Maybe
For
somewhere
each-
in there.
For each parcel.
for each parcel. Yes.
2,200
Huh?
a year.
2,200 a year for me. That shoots my social security increase that I got,
Mhm.
and then some.
And then
Right.
some.
Okay, and that will put me belly up. I've been driving that road for 15 years, and that road's a pit,
Mhm.
but I can't go $200 a month more. And I don't want to combine the parcels, because if I end up going belly up, that one property is free and clear, I can move on to that one.
Right.
But and the access, that's another bone of contention that I've had, because it says
in Dalton Township's paperwork, it says if there's more than 3 houses, then it's gotta have a 60-foot access. But there's my house and Angie's house, that's only 2, and it's not more than 3. But 60 feet by 600 feet, that's a lot of land that I can't do anything on because somebody's got to drive on it.
Right.
It should only be 30 feet according to Dalton Township's.
60 foot right.
Huh?
60 foot right away.
It should be 30 foot. 30 foot, according to Dalton Township's paperwork. I've got the copies of it.
Yeah.
If it's more than 3, then it's 60 feet. So they can put sewers and water lines and all that. They're not gonna do that because that driveway ends at 31.
Okay.
So there's no way they're gonna do anything with it. But I've got the paperwork at home where I copied it from this office right here where it says more than 3 homes, 60 feet, but it's not more than 3, so it should only be 30 feet.
Right. Does it pertain to the road though? Does it? That's just a different issue.
It pertains to my property, yeah.
Sure. All right, so if you want to object to it, you're gonna want to put in a written objection to it. So, as well, all right? So we've got that, you know, I mean, when the guy was going around getting the petitions, I told him, like, hey, it's gonna be, you know, a political mess, because they always are. And so it's nice and predictable as far as that goes. I also don't want to be the thing stopping people from paving the roads, and we don't have another good way to do it because the township's obviously not gonna cover it. And I wouldn't take it to a vote to add on the ballot to add a millage for road stuff, because I don't think I would vote for it, and that would be extremely difficult to manage of who's getting the money. You can't get to everyone's road. We can vote that much money through. So these are weird, clunky processes. And it's, you know, we saw that on Michelinda before. So if we have the one written objection now, obviously that one could be adjusted if the board so chooses, it's in the board's power. And distributed, that price would increase everyone else's, obviously. We have one more that's not obvious, that one would necessarily be taken off. So I'm not sure at which point we would want to look at, that's not too much in the way of objections. I'm not sure at which point we'd want to look at stopping the process. But, so decent stuff to consider. What else? So we're still in the public comment section of the hearing for the roads. Anyone else in Central Road? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Mark Bylick. I'm the guy behind this all the shit. No, I did copy off of Miss Linda Road.
Yep.
I was a little sticker shock for price too, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, I see you double parts of problem. The only thing I can suggest is there's nothing we can do about it. It is what it is. The only thing I'll hope for or possibly recommend to the council is possibly pick Cowboy up a little bit, because you are going to save money on the grinding of the road every year. And isn't that like 50 grand for Dalton Township? So I don't know what it breaks down to.
Yeah, but that's for like 27 miles.
That'd be great if you could throw a little cash our way. It'd be nice. Because it is going to save you, so you can pass your savings on to us for the 10 years.
It would be
And you make money on us.
It'd be negligible, and most likely because you're gonna have some costs on it over the years, right? You'll have someone that isn't able to pay theirs or doesn't pay theirs, and that gap has to be made up somewhere. You'll have people that pay early, but we're actually paying interest on a bond that we can't pay ahead of time. And so if we can't put that in the bank and earn enough interest on that, technically, the township loses a little bit of ground on that. So there ends up being decent costs as well, yeah.
What costs us somewhere.
There's been several mentions
Oh, no, I don't blame you, sir.
of,
If I was doing it, I would do the same thing. Yeah, I know, well, I'll give you 3.
Tracy was gonna go grab it.
It's on it, I probably would right now.
Tracy's gonna go grab that petition. If you just want to wait for a second, that way she can hear it.
You want to sell it? Okay.
We can, so, so Renee was talking about, now, just have you hold your comment until Tracy gets back, that way we don't have to repeat to her, but Renee was talking about tabling it. We can, and we did before on Michelinda, it got delayed a little bit. You know, if we delay it too far, obviously it'd be something that gets pushed as a project potentially. Depends on the road commission. They know this one is coming, so they are prepared for it. You know, if you push it too far out, then it has to go to next year, and then I think it'll throw off the costs and whatnot, so it gets complex. Good, and if you want to go ahead.
Yep, Michael Bennett. So just kind of echoing on Mark's comments, there would be more cost savings besides the dust treatment. The plows have to come down our road during the summer season, at least every other week, just to keep the road drivable. You know, with a paved road, that would be virtually eliminated. The other thing that I have researched myself a little bit, I shot an email off to the governor's office just to ask if there'd be any funds that might be available. Of course, I did get a response, which I think was just from one of their staffers that said to contact my local road department. So I don't know if there's possibilities of that. I'm willing to call the governor's office personally. This was an email, but and see what we can do. But our governor kind of ran on roads, so it seems like they'd be willing to put a little bit of money up. Anyway,
Yeah, I mean, the emails from her that I get say that she's spending the most money ever and cutting taxes. It's a miracle.
on Detroit.
So, so the road commission puts forward 25%, which is included in that because local road on a more what they consider a bigger, more important road, they'll do 50%, but on one like this, they'll do 25%. So that's calculated in there. And then the stuff from the state, I have inquired into that. I've inquired into it in the last couple of months. But everything that was supposed to be coming from the feds to the state, from the state to the counties, has been held up at the state level. So our road commission, at least as of a couple of months ago, hasn't seen any of that money as of yet. Now, they've been using that on a lot of state roads. They've been doing a lot of bridges, including like Maple Island, stuff like that. So some things around here. But as far as any projects like this are concerned, none of the money has made it down to that point.
So there is money supposedly coming.
There's always supposed to be money coming.
Well, maybe I'll make a phone call.
Al Richards, 5375 Staple Road. I'll just pigtail on what he just said. I think you gotta look for some more creative funding. Because this gentleman here, he's one of our residents, one of our citizens.
Yes.
And you're gonna disregard what he said. If you go ahead and try to push this thing through, and kick him out of his house.
Yeah.
And just so that you can drive a little faster on that road. I don't think that's,
It's not driving faster. I mean, if you gotta take a two-wheel drive car down there in the springtime, half the time you can't pass it. And you gotta have a four-wheel drive to get through there.
buddy, you're gonna get home, one way or another, you're gonna get home, you always have.
Yeah.
And to kick him out of his house or.
Well, I wouldn't do that. I would eat the funds on my property before I would even do that. So
Now there,
pass it on.
now
So,
you're talking.
but you're talking something. If you want to eat the funds, I'll eat the funds. But still, you don't even live on the road. So
No, I don't.
That road
But
is
that's
pretty bad.
cool, consider that you kick him from his house just so you can have.
I've had the light on in our Honda Civic 3 times because you hit a butterfly and it turns on all the lights on the dash.
I can understand that.
The road is bad.
Your roads are rough. And the thing with Dalton is the population keeps increasing, the traffic keeps increasing, and the passenger traffic keeps increasing. And so, if you look a few decades ago, there wasn't as much traffic on a lot of these roads. And as that traffic increases, there's always a lag time on essentially putting in the infrastructure that really would make sense to have there because of the finances. The lag time is a pure financial issue. So, and I don't see a road millage going through at the county level or the local level anywhere in the near future, which would be the other way to tackle it. Do something like, we're going to pave a half a mile of road a year, something like that. But that seems unlikely to work at either of these local levels.
Well, that'd be one other way of doing it. Now, this gentleman, one gentleman suggested that he had contacted the governor's office. I think it's worth taking a little extra time to pursue avenues like that.
You
Well,
can.
you have situations like this.
Well, we have,
I wouldn't want you kicking my grandpa out of his house.
No,
Just to
I don't
take the
either.
road.
well, we do, so we have stuff like that. I mean, I'm proposing that we spend a decent amount of the ARPA funds on roads. But if you do that on like a paving thing, it'll eat up the funds so fast. So I'm proposing more for like gravel upgrades and that type of thing, so it at least hits more.
And I don't wanna throw anybody under the bus here, but Roger Jordan Jr., the guy that I bought my house from, drives his heavy equipment in all his trucks up and down our road, which washes it out and does all kinds of stuff. And he has a big company and he's got lots of funding, and he may even be able to do part of the work. So maybe some special financing should come from him saying, you know, you drive your loaders, you drive your semis, you drive all your stuff up and down our gravel road and turn it to crap,
Yeah.
even though you're not supposed to be driving on it.
Wow.
Well,
But
put a
yeah.
weight restriction on the
To
road.
get to it, to get to his house,
You can't
which
run
is
a
on
truck
the
up and
paved
down
road
that
now, which I bought his old house, you know, or, you know,
Can you put a weight limit on it temporarily till the stuff gets fixed?
well, I've seen
But
bigger,
that would just be forever.
bigger trucks on the
What's
other
up?
roads.
That would just be forever.
Okay.
Like, it's best for a road if no one drives on it. It lasts-
Oh, yeah.
And that was my other concern too, is, I mean, we had a huge, super huge pothole on Bard that wasn't getting filled in, that, I mean, I knocked the front end off my truck. I mean, the pothole was this big and that big around, and luckily I had somebody on the road commission that I knew, and I called them and let them know right away that that was there, and they came out and filled it right away. But that was my other concern is, I mean, we pay all this money through taxes, you know, we're not kicking this guy out of the house, we're adding it to mine, but is the road gonna get maintained? I mean, am I gonna have to go out there and fill the big pothole if it's in front of my house, or, you know, plant flowers in it, or what are they doing, you know?
I recall a story in the Chronicle about a young African-American boy in the Heights that did that very thing.
Well, that's what I wanna do, because I mean, I literally, my U-Haul work truck that, you know, I mean, you know, I had just got a front end alignment and 2 brand new tires, which was about $1,300. And I come through there and hit that at night, and I mean, the steering was off as soon as I hit it, you know what I mean? So, you know, that it is a concern, and I mean, I, you know, the 2-wheel drive, even, you know, my 2-wheel drive work truck trying to get up and down that road, and it usually doesn't get plowed until 11 or 1 o'clock the next day after a huge snowfall. And I've explained that to my boss.
I don't see how the county road situation is going to get better in the near future. Basically, what you would need to happen for that to occur is you would need public sentiment, which hates the road commission, especially in this area, to support the road commission for them to put a road millage on, and then people to vote to increase their own taxes so that they're better financed to better take care of the roads. I don't see that happening, but that's a guess on public sentiment and a bunch of political stuff. But I don't see that happening in the next couple of decades. It's talked about at the road commission. And in places where they do see nice roads, a lot of times they will have a road millage. There are counties where the county has a road millage, and then each local municipality has its own road millage. Well, so places like that have nice roads. They have more money, they put more money into the roads. But I don't see that turn of events taking place in Muskegon in the near future at least, but that's a political guess.
Why is it that we always choose to force people to do things that they don't want to do?
92% of the people on the parcels signed that they wanted it paved. Now, they didn't have the cost at the time, and I am right there with you on Michelinda, one of the dirt sections, the cost came in and I said, hold up, I can't do that. So I get it. So I'm, yeah.
Yeah.
Just,
I'm
there
making
was a lot
motion
of
to table this for like, you know, get more information. This.
So we're still in public comments, but we can get back around to that. All right, so any more public that wants to speak on the Central Road?
One last comment, this is gonna levy the cost between those 90% of the people.
Yeah, I mean, that's what
They're the
we,
ones that want it.
that's where we have some of
Levy
the objections
the
to.
cost between them, don't shuck it over here on this.
But we knew the actual cost that we were given papers of is 40% higher than what we thought it would be when we got the
Sticker shot.
yeah, it was sticker shock. We were told it probably be about $600 a year. And by the time everything gets done, it's gonna be $1,100 to $1,200.
down.
And if you guys can get enough people to just put in written objections, it helps me for managing these things if we kill this project. It's easier.
Is this an all or nothing paving project?
We wouldn't pay part of it. Even though it is partially paved, that's a weird thing from the past. I don't know exactly how that came about, but he's got it.
That's the other question. How come that north quarter mile is paved and they've redone it again just for the last 2 or 3 years? And there's only one house on that. Now, from there on down to Bard Road, there's 15 to 20 houses. And we drive in not even a gravel pit. It's not even that good.
Yeah, that little partial paving, I don't know the full history. I believe that was a paved road that got torn up when the highway went through however long ago. And so I'm guessing it's some sort of weird complication with that of why it's partially paved, but I'm not sure on the partial paving.
They should have repaved it.
So, yeah, no one goes to the road commission meetings.
So what's the process here? Like, are we gonna be informed of next meetings if there's more meetings about this, or? Okay,
You get mailings.
Yep. So where we are in the process, right? Yeah, because it's a clunky process, right? It's almost as bad as the drain commissioner, right? Almost. And essentially when you like sign a petition for the drain commissioner, you sign a blank check, right? And the project becomes whatever it was. A lot of people in the area remember the RIDE project, right? It became this huge multi-million-dollar thing. So how this happens is we get a petition in. If it's a decent amount of people, right? If it's 50% of people, then the road commission won't even draw up numbers for it. It's a waste of their time. But if it's a decent number of people, in this case, 90-some% of people, it's a high percentage. The road commission gets us numbers. And with those numbers, then we can start the process. So last month, we had the first resolution in a simplified form. That first resolution establishes a hearing, right? That's what we're in right now. If that hearing passes, there's another resolution, which would be the next item on the agenda, to set up another hearing, which would be a hearing for next month. If that passes, however it passes, then it's through. Technically, if you've given a written objection, you can take it to the state tax tribunal and stuff like that, but we can't change the list after that final hearing. So we're right in the middle of this 3-month process, essentially.
will I know, like, as far as, I'm not talking about the whole project, but just my parcel, is this something that Dalton votes on? Or, and then I'll be notified about that, or, because I don't know, like, do I have to appeal it to the state of Michigan today? I guess is what I'm asking, but I don't want.
Not today, because it's not through.
Okay.
So it would be the appeals, if it was appealed, right? If you were on the list, you've given a written objection and you don't think you should be on there, you're making the case about the value. It would be after the fourth meeting, the fourth resolution, right? The fourth resolution, which is the second hearing. Okay, on schedule, which it sounds like it might extend, but on the schedule now, that's what I'm planning on next month.
Okay,
If that went through, then you have a certain period of time to appeal and you get a thing in the mail that says that as well. I think it's 30 days.
so I should be at the next meeting, basically. Okay, yeah, I'll be here. Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to piggyback off of what Carrie said.
Mm-hmm.
If we can show that 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, the road was paved and now it's not, and Carrie basically said that, well, you know, and I'm not pinning you down, but
Oh, you're fine.
he said that if it was paved at one point, it should be repaved. And
That's tore it apart, they should have fixed it.
that's partially why part of it is paved and part of it is not. I mean, is that something we should start looking at as well?
Oh, yeah, I can. It'd be a huge waste of my time.
Oh.
So I think it would probably be a cool hobby for like a year, in which case you would fail. That's, I mean, so the business park, right, to use an example, in the industrial park off of Whitehall Road. So that property was all owned by the county. It's being sold off. Those roads, that was 2002, there was a weird tax deal, a 50-year contract, a bunch of stuff I had to sort out, right? A bunch of financial issues. But they put in 2 roads that the county had approved and put in $2 million of infrastructure in there. Because no one owned it, set up as a condo association, but only people from the county were technically on it. And they didn't pick it up as county roads, even though they're through roads, right? They're not dead-end roads, they're through roads. So now that wrote the 50-year contract 30 years early, sorting out some of the finances, got the county to lower the price, they're selling off the property. You have 2 throw roads that the county paid a couple $1 million to put in, so obviously they would plow those. right? No, so they're considered private roads. I had support from the county administrators, I had support from multiple people, the people going in there, obviously. Gave the road board a packet of information that had to be at least an inch thick, which, discussed it with them over several months. They put in the money, the county put in the money, but the road commission still wouldn't pick it up. So, and if we couldn't pick that one up, these other things they'll just end up being dismissed. You can speak on them at the road commission meeting and stuff, but we don't have any legal grounding to stand on that type of thing. It's within their discretion. And they wouldn't do it. They would contribute 25% to this project. That's about it. Good. All right. Any other public comment? All right.
On that issue.
Yeah. Yep, on that issue. All right, I'm gonna close the public comment portion. All right, so motion by Carrie to table it,
Support.
support by Nola.
What's the purpose? What are we gonna do in this timeframe of tabling it? What is our goal?
Give the people that are on that list a chance to get
If they want to take their name off the.
Yep, or combined parcels.
Yep, give them time to combine, whatever they want.
Are we doing anything?
So, right, so there's a couple of things here, because, so if we just table it and don't come back to it, it'll just be a project that just stopped here essentially. If we want people to object, and we're considering that there's gonna be enough people to object to stop the project, it'll probably have to be a decent amount, but it's within the discretion of the board vote. So it's up to us. It could be one person that objects and we kill the project. If people are going to combine parcels, it's obviously gonna redistribute the money. The cost of the project doesn't go down. So to redistribute the money, so they'll go up individually, right, in proportion to that. And then that will probably take a while. A lot of times the parcel combination is not super fast. And so if people are looking into that, I'm not sure how the timeframe is going to work out. Because if it takes a handful of months to do that, then we're probably into pushing this off till next year. I know some people have done parcel combinations quickly in the past, and I know that sometimes they take a while working with the county on them. So it's a variable that I'm just not sure on.
Because I think it did account, so I think it comes to 20 instead of 24. If everyone gives those people that time to combine.
Right.
So.
Well, not only that, considering that the actual cost is 40% higher. Man, I'll tell you, if I was expecting to pay a certain amount and then it's 40% more, I'm like,
Yeah, I don't
no,
want it.
you're jacking me right now. And I'm not for that. I'm not for that at all. That's a
That's
huge,
the paper that
that's
I
a
got.
huge increase.
That's
a
huge.
This gives people, in my
It's
opinion,
not
this gives
fair.
give people to
Well, it was just-
reevaluate and say, okay, whether you
That's
want
just
this or not.
estimated off of different projects. The different projects are different. I mean, I know we have engineers in the room, but I'm not a road engineer, so if I'm guesstimating the amount of your road project, which I don't do because I don't know what it's going to be. So, and I mean, the variability could be huge. I wouldn't be surprised
If we look at also using maybe ARPA money on that instead, maybe some of the costs to alleviate that 40% increase that these people.
Yeah.
Because
We can.
they were told, hey, this is gonna be this amount, now it's 40%.
No, they weren't told that.
They were told.
They were assuming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we could
that's what I was
spend,
told.
we could spend all the ARPA money and just pay the road if we wanted.
We gotta,
I was
I'm sure they would have, objection to that, right? No, that's the free road. It passed.
I propose it. Who supports it?
It's a tragedy of the commons. In economics, it'd be considered a tragedy of the commons problem, which is essentially all governmental problems, right? And that we have literally all of the governmental problems is a tragedy of the commons. Most commonly given examples with shared prairie land or lakes. But this type of thing, it's if the taxes are coming into a central location and they're being used on certain things, they can't be used exactly in proportion to the people that put them in. And so it benefits you the most to try to contribute the least and take the most, right? And bleed it dry. That is a tragedy of the commons problem. It is very difficult to resolve, or well, you can't resolve it. It's very difficult to even manage well. So
Thank you. Off the top of your head, did I hear you say that you thought there was another parcel that may be exempt?
not that I know of.
Okay, So just, carries that one.
Yeah, I mean, not that I know of.
Jeff Sullivan has.
Thank you.
But if we, like, what are we bringing it back? If we're tabling it, are we postponing it just till next month, like a 1 month
Let's
thing?
give it 1 month and see what's going on. Let's give people a chance to back. And if there isn't opposition, then we can reevaluate, maybe just take it off the table altogether.
But 92% of the people said, yes, I want a better road.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
but then those same people could also be saying, whoa, back up the truck. It's 40% more than I expected. I am no longer part of the 92%.
Right.
So I think that's what we need to do is we need to at least give this 1 month for the people that, to get their things together now they've got their sticker shock. I understand that we don't want to slow down the process for those that really do want to push it through, but we also need to consider everybody. And so 1 month I don't think is unreasonable.
Yeah, I don't-
And I know I wouldn't sleep well knowing that someone was kicked out of the home because.
No, I would not.
Right. I just don't want to table it and then have nothing that triggers me to bring it back to the board. Otherwise, it could just end up tabled forever.
Right.
You know, in kind of a limbo state.
1 month.
I got,
What do you got, Kim?
Yeah. If you want to take it to a certain point in time and then take it up again, the motion, I believe, should be to postpone, not table.
Correct. That's what I'm getting to. That's what I'm coming back around to.
Postpone
Yep.
for 30 days.
on this, it says interest to start on April 1st, 2023.
That's if this passes.
We have to
Pushes out.
pull the bond.
Let's push it back.
So that would be another resolution for pulling a bond, which if we're at this time frame, we would see next month in that second hearing. So whenever we saw the second hearing, we should see a resolution for that, the final resolution for the road project and a resolution for pulling the bond.
I don't think that our initial mailing had the dollar amounts in it.
No, that's an email.
So
Right.
we can this week mail out with the dollar amounts.
You're gonna have the right dates on them this time?
They were sent out as 2022 the first time, so we got them out again.
So I'll rescind my first motion. I'm gonna change it to postpone it for 30 days.
How about till next meeting?
Until next meeting.
Next meeting.
All right, perfect.
I'll support that.
All right, motion by Carrie, supported by Nola, to see it next month. Any other discussion among the board? All right, let's roll call vote.
Carrie,
Yes.
Nola,
Yes.
Christie,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes, ma'am.
Lee,
Yes.
Tracy, yes, Jeffrey.
Yes.
Look at correspondence with back party on parcel exempt and that dollar amount will be increased.
I don't think it's for us to say that it's exempt. I mean,
may.
no offense, I think that's a.
I get it, yep.
Thing, I don't think we can,
I'm going off from what my lawyer said and maybe my lawyer's.
The board could change it. The board has it within our power to change that list.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it could be a board thing, or the board could decide to leave it on there and then you would take it to tax tribunal. So they could go either way.
Okay.
And so I think what Tracy's looking at sending out is the information that I have in this. So this is posted on Municode. So if you go to municode.com and you go into the library, you go into Michigan, you go into Dalton Township, this entire packet, or 151 pages is on there if anyone wants to look at it. That includes these full resolutions and all of the numbers and that type of thing.
I can put a note in with the mailing that says, these numbers are tentative, if there are exempt, if there are parcels that are determined exempt, or parcels that are combined before the final roll.
Yes.
I think that would be very helpful too, because it's going to increase if those things come to pass.
Yes.
That will increase everyone's.
That is correct. And I mean, in these processes, I tell the lawyer just to make sure we're jumping through the whatever laws we're supposed to be jumping through. And so I believe those initial mailings are basically just information that there is the hearing. If you want to speak to it, then do it. Or, I mean, some people have called me and I sent you guys information, that type of thing.
Thank you.
Cool.
Guess one thing too, like if you do have an objection, I mean, write it down and send it in.
Well, we want
Right, yeah.
the written objection. is significantly more formal, and especially if you want to like appeal it to tax tribunal later, or if you want to try to stop the project, something like that, then you want a written objection. You can email it to me, right? supervisor@daltontownship.org. But it's nice to have in writing. It's important to have in writing. Good. All right.
I got a
Next.
question on this here, that as far as property value going up, it was my knowledge that our property taxes are not gonna go up, it's not gonna increase the value of the home whatsoever, whether it's paid or not. Is that
Right,
correct?
so as far as assessing goes, they mark whether it's a paved or unpaved road, but that is a portion that doesn't go into the equation for changing the values of the homes. Now, if the homes, because it's paved road, sell for more money over time, then that will slowly affect your cost. But or the valuation of your home, but when you check the box for paved, it doesn't change the equation for the numbers for assessing.
Okay, so yeah, no one's gonna get a tax increase because the road gets paved.
Right, yep, that's an informational item for the assessor. Central Road Resolution 2023-10. And so this is, in a simplified format, is to set up a hearing, the final hearing for next month. Obviously, wouldn't even be possible, since we don't have the previous thing passed, right? So it would not be legal to even pass this. And so we don't have to take a vote on it. It just doesn't apply. Next, we have the FOIA appeal hearing. So, and this is for Kevin McCabe, and I've included, decent amounts of information in here. And we'll comment on them on the next item as well. So this, it's kind of odd. So it's for an occupancy permit that doesn't exist. He requested photos being here. I have a photo in here. And I included Tracy's response to him about the FOIA request as well. I believe she was 1 day over on her projected date, but still less than the 15 days that would be legal. Even if the addition was completed and signed off as approved, we still wouldn't at that time issue an occupancy permit. Now, technically, I talked to a lawyer on this, technically because he's requesting a paper that doesn't exist, then we are denying him that paper because it's non-existent. And so he filed that appeal, he sent to me, and so it shows up to the next board meeting. And so this is that. And so we'll have a hearing on this as well. All right, so I'm going to open the hearing for the FOIA appeal. And we are going to open it to Kevin. If you want to come up, I will open the public comment section of the hearing as well.
I'm glad you recognize the appeal. I don't even acknowledge it. If any eraser marks or anything on it, this is what it should look like for the camera. This is the actual request. It's in complaint. For the camera. Evidence. Chapter 42. That's quite a bit of info to you and your alleged code official. Also, you run for the other room, but I also sent some information to your fire chief. AFC.
Yeah, I don't appreciate you harassing the fire department.
He
That offends me a little bit.
probably ran to the other room to go on a
Harassing?
call.
He's been out for a
You're
while.
It's the
harassing
law.
all of the.
It's the law. And here is some more evidence. These are drawings here from Google, 2009, 2019. And so the reason I'm bringing this all to your attention is that this is supporting evidence, and your code official has a compulsory duty to enforce this law.
So the hearing is about whether that piece of paper exists.
What piece of paper?
Exactly.
The occupancy permit.
That's what you're appealing.
And you're voting on that, right?
Correct.
Okay, so you don't want to hear this?
Does
Or you
it,
want me-
does it,
I'm open to hearing. She's saying it's the condition of the property is irrelevant. You're not appealing the condition of the property.
Technically, no, but Okay. I'll wait till public comment.
You are in comment
You
right
are in
now.
public comment.
This is public comment?
Yeah.
This is public comment specifically on the FOIA appeal hearing.
Okay. I didn't see that on your agenda. You
It's
haven't
there.
amended
It's
it.
there.
Number 22.
Two?
This is FOIA appeal hearing.
And it was stated at the very beginning.
What is his name and address?
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Kevin McCabe, 69 Linden,
I see,
West Linden.
West Linden.
The White House?
I see public comment down
Village.
here at the bottom.
You're 22.
You're number 22.
Huh?
FOIA appeal hearing, number 22.
Yeah, okay. I'll wait till public comment.
Oh, final public comment, just for more public comment?
Yeah, well, yeah, you're gonna rule on the occupancy itself, which you're gonna affirm that it doesn't exist, then that makes it the property unlawful. You're aware of that.
Yeah, I know the games you're doing. We'll get into McCabe more in the next item as well. So this one,
What did you like before?
the motion is large. That's because I consult with lawyers, so obviously when lawyers get involved, they add words because that's what they do. And so to cover this in various ways, this is the motion that you write it on here. But essentially, the board needs to, as McCabe was saying there, affirm that we don't have a thing to give him for the occupancy permit. All right. But I will ask if anyone else wants to comment, do public comment during the hearing for the FOIA appeal. All right. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public comment on that then. And questions, thoughts, ideas, comments,
All right,
concerns,
so
motions?
for the actual motion of this, we're just saying that we're denying a piece of paper that doesn't exist.
Correct.
Okay, I make a motion to deny him a piece of paper that doesn't exist.
Well, I prefer for the motion to be as written on there.
Okay, I make a motion that after deliberation at a public meeting, the board finds and determines that no township public record exists under the name officially issued certificate occupancy for the property known as 621 West Lakewood Road / parcel number 61-07-641-000-0002-00. Therefore, the denial of Mr. McCabe's FOIA request for such a document is affirmed. The FOIA coordinator shall issue a written notice to the appellant informing him of this decision.
Support.
Motion by Carrie, support by Nola. So, yeah, I would have said it the way like Carrie said it.
You
Any-
went for it, buddy.
Any discussion among the board? Yeah, that way we're crossing our T's, dotting our I's.
Hey, that's why I did.
All right, hearing no
I
discussion?
do have one
Yeah.
question. A certificate of occupancy, does everybody have that for their home that they live in? We do?
When
Okay,
it's
when it's done.
initially done,
When
this
it's initially
particular,
So when the things are
Yeah.
older,
They've
Some
started
of the
working
ones
on
that
it
are-
and it fell out and they. It's not there. Fine.
this, there's an addition onto it, and that's what doesn't have.
yeah, so there should be occupancy for everyone, but I believe in some of the older places, they don't have it. Essentially the situation.
Okay.
Good. Anything else? Call vote.
Carrie,
Yes.
Nola,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Tracy, yes, Renee,
Yes, ma'am.
Christie,
Yes.
Jeffrey.
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have the General Code Enforcement Ordinance 2023-06. So, and I made a few adjustments here to turn it into more of an ordinance format, even though it is somewhat set up like a resolution as well, because I like some of the wording. Two, I made a mistake in not adjusting 3 of the items because when I originally written these resolutions, I geared them more towards zoning. Obviously, there's more enforcement issues there, and the planning commission is going through their separate process for looking at turning this into an ordinance. And I should have reviewed it because you can go to different appeals boards. Some of the stuff in the general code will come straight to us for an appeal. And the zoning board of appeals doesn't have any authority. And so 7, 8, and 9 should read, 7, if still found in violation, a third letter is sent by first-class mail stating that a certain enforcement action will be taken and that this can be appealed to the appropriate appeals board by a certain date. 8, if an appeal is received, a hearing is scheduled and conducted by the appropriate appeals board. 9, if no appeal is received, enforcement action is taken. Right, so I propose those adjustments into what's written there for 7, 8, and 9. I also added severability into here, a few things at the end when it would take effect and that type of thing. Also, there's specific McCabean adjustment. If people are setting up and we have the letter from him that he made to the village and then forwarded to me about setting up a group of people that would go around and tell everyone.
Snitch.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's a type of snitching group. And so to go around as like an enforcement group to turn each other in, right, is the basic proposal there. Now, what we've got, right, so with Kevin, it's ramped up in recent times, obviously, with his with his principal residence exemption not going through for his tax thing. He's been trying to get that written off. And essentially, to the effect that it won't try to overrule the assessing department to give him that exemption, he's trying to apply enough pressure to me to get me to overrule them. Obviously, I think that would work on some people, obviously not exactly up my alley.
Thank you.
And so in a case like that, where someone is trying to harass us to get something done, or someone is trying to harass other citizens, I have added a line in here that those specifically done in with that intention should and can be ignored by the township.
Good.
So it's, I really like the phrase, be prepared to appreciate what you need. And so all of the bad stuff, which this job is a lot of it, I try to appreciate in some way, right? Because it's teaching some sort of lesson. And so I think that is useful and good to add. And I would like the planning commission to consider, I know they'll look at their own adjustments, but I would like them to potentially consider that line as well. But
I make a motion to approve ordinance 2023-06 for due process in township enforcement.
I'll second that.
I would like it to be with the adjustments verbally made
With
by.
the adjustments verbally made by John.
Perfect, for 7, 8, 9. Do you agree with that on your report?
I do.
All right, yep. And that was just my mistake on not preparing on that early enough. So we have motion by Noah, support by Renee. Any other discussion among the board on that? Nope. All right, hearing none, we'll do roll call vote.
Nola,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes.
Carrie,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Christie,
Yes.
Tracy, yes, Jeffrey.
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we are into our discussion items. So these are a number of things here. The first one being budget work session date. Now, because we have the annual meeting on the 18th, there's really not enough time to have just the budget work session in this meeting and in the March one, if there were any major adjustments that need to be made for me to get them back out to you before that March 18th meeting. And so I think it would be a good idea to have a date where and I want to hit on a few things on the budget here, a few specific things, get your guys' opinion and see where you are on them. But if we have one where we just go through line by line. Now, in the budget, I have a reasoning line for everything. So in an attempt to make it as self-explanatory as possible. But nevertheless, we can flip through every line. So we can do it at 6 p.m. on a Monday, which will either be February 27th or March 6th, or we can do it on a different day at a different time.
Either one of those is great.
Either one for me.
The rest of you?
Is everyone? Yeah, I mean, I would prefer to do it earlier. The February 27th. It gives me a little more time to prepare. If we want to make any adjustments or especially major adjustments, that gives me time to go back through it.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock on February 27th, which is a Monday. So and that'll be, I'll put out the notices for that. That's a budget work session. So we're not voting on anything. We'll just be discussing it. And I hope those is, pretty open discussion wherever anyone wants to go. Next, we have the fire millage. And so this is important. We've been talking about it for a while. And I have information from the lawyer drawn up in here, a few time corrections in there that need to be made. I'd circled. And so on this, it's important to understand that it would be two things on the ballot because we're looking for an increase, right? So the renewal is coming up in the next couple of years. But there has been a general sentiment, I mean, especially I checked with, all the eighth graders of the last 2 years at Reese Buffer, and low interest in the field. As I think, as the culture has changed, and there, a couple of decades ago, there was not interest in becoming a professional video game player. Right now, it's a very large percentage. And so those types of things, plus our calls are increasing, right? They bounce up and down every year, but overall the graph is going up. And so that stretches our fire department thin. And I think it's pretty common in all the stuff we're dealing with. We're not exactly a small township, but we're not exactly a large township. We're right in that medium phase somewhere. And so some things need to make the transition. This will be a major transition going up to, other than the chief who works, a few full-time shifts a week, to having multiple full-time firefighters. And what this would do is there would be one, if we pass the resolutions, we put it on the ballot in August, right? Which I informed Lori at the county and everything to expect that coming down, but it's at the board's discretion. So we'd have one item where you would vote for the renewal, right? And then that would extend out the operating millage as it is. And then there would be a second item for an increase. I have that written up for 0.85 mils. It'd be more comfortable if it was more, but I also would like to see citizens support it, so you can't ask for too much. There's a balancing act there, right? So I think 0.85 is a very reasonable ask. And then Alan and I will figure out the budgeting as that were to come up for full-time firefighters. So any questions, thoughts, ideas, comments, concerns on this?
Sounds good to me.
We need it.
Alan, did you have anything to say on?
The word as best we can. Didn't either, but. It's getting pretty challenging.
It is, right. And our fire department does very well at responding, and very well when they respond. When they have to cut someone out of a vehicle, something like that, we have nice equipment for them, and they do a ton of training, and they're good at that type of thing. And it's one of those issues where the government and in life in general, a lot of times you let something start to get bad. This building, which we'll come back around to as an example, right? You let it get bad, and then you try to play a little catch up. We do not want to do that with emergency response, right? That's bad.
Lives are at stake.
That's a bad industry to do that.
And I will say, I had a good friend of mine that lives over in Stonegate. He had the honor of meeting our fire chief, and she was very impressed with the timely response that he came to her home. And I thought she was gonna be here tonight. She must have forgot about it, but she really is, yeah. We are so honored to have this man as our fire chief. Y'all just don't realize. It's amazing. Thank you, Chief.
Excellent.
Can you hear? It's working.
Good. Next, we have the water ordinance, all right? So we passed before, it was a controversial thing, we split the board in some different ways, but we have this water ordinance. I think we're on stable ground now. I think I've prepared the water policy board for potential things coming down the pipeline of potential adjustments. So Tracy's on that board now. So it'll be for you to take to. I had talked to the lawyer about the version of the motion Carrie had made, and then also, because I disagreed with yours, and I thought there would be a better route to go about it, but I was mostly focused on the financial stuff because of what I read in the contract between the municipalities. And the lawyer disagreed with both of those. And he was more worried about if a court case came up, a due process defense issue. And so he has made the adjustment here. Now this, I think, leans in a very good direction. It basically means that if you're doing new construction within 200 feet, then you have to connect and you have to stay connected. If it's not that, then it's pretty open. So he eliminated multiple items on here, adjusted a few things. And so I think it came out really well as far as that goes. And so this discussion should be taken to the water policy board, have the discussion with them and email them, have them put it in the packet. And then I wanted to bring it to this board first before the discussion was had with them. And then I think it could go one of three ways. Well, one of three ways that could go well. Then there's a bunch of ways that it could go bad. Right? So one way that could go well is that people agree and the water policy board is like, yeah, we should go in that direction. I think that's unlikely. I think it's a very real possibility that it becomes a partial thing, that like one of the other municipalities also agrees with this. Fruitland would be my best guess, and that they're like, all right, well, Dalton and Fruitland will be on the same page for an ordinance like this. I think it's also decently likely that we'll just be the only ones moving forward with this. But I think we're on solid legal ground moving forward as well. Now, that will be more of a discussion at those water policy board meetings
Right.
to see, because that board could decide to bring legal action, right, over our ordinances varying from theirs. But I think right now we're on decently solid footing. So questions, thoughts, ideas, comments, concerns on this? I mean, what do you guys think of it?
I like it. I think it's a good compromise from what people are asking us to do.
Could you hit on some of the highlights?
Yeah, so basically, there are several main features in here that were eliminated. So one is that within 100 days of conveyance, so within 100 days of a sale, you would have to automatically connect. That part is eliminated in this version. And when an existing well runs dry or is contaminated or otherwise fails, then you have to do it. And that part is eliminated in here. There's a part that's added that's once connected to the system, a building may not thereafter be disconnected as long as the plumbing fixtures are installed in it. Right, so you can't disconnect once you're connected. It has left the part about new construction, but it's also left the part about the 200-foot exemption if you're further than 200 feet from the line. And has left the part about the exemption of keeping a well even if you connect to water for uses outside of the home.
Does it still include the fact that we'd have to pay for the water to run past our property?
Yeah, I don't think there's any way around that. That's a separate issue from the connection, a separate issue from what's been being looked at.
Good.
Gotta go more.
Yeah.
Sure, fair enough.
Yeah,
Right, so it doesn't talk about if a well is determined contaminated.
yeah.
Well, it says right here, this is when existing well serving a building runs dry, is contaminated or otherwise fails, the owner or the property may not, for the purpose of avoiding mandatory connection, improve, expand, rehabilitate, redrill, deepen, otherwise extend useful life of failed well. That was taken out.
That was original language.
Right, that was taken out.
That's your move.
That's
So
good.
in other words, you can fix your well.
Yeah, you can fix your well.
Right, but if
What
it's,
if it's contaminated?
well, if it's contaminated, the health department is gonna say that you can't have a
You can't.
contaminated well. Now, if you get connected to water and you still have a non-contaminated well, you can continue to use it.
Or you drink the water and you die.
Or you get a reverse osmosis system.
Or PFAS wraps itself around your DNA and we don't know what that is.
There it is, you turn into a monster.
What? Good. All right, anything else on that? Water ordinance? No? All right, next we have the Spark Beagle Park project. And so this is moving forward. Well, Christy has the lead on it. She's been able to get a number of letters of support. Next month, we'll be looking at seeing a resolution on it. Do you have anything else on it, or is that basically it?
No, we met with Fleece and Vandenberg. They
Yep.
came out and they have tentative drawings of adding new playground equipment, another baseball diamond, and pickleball courts, and a new pavilion with new restrooms is what we're looking at right now.
Nice.
That's what the proposal would
That's
be.
the proposal,
Right?
will be for Beagle Field.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Pickleball is.
It's like mini tennis,
They gotta eat.
It's like racquetball.
giant ping pong.
Giant ping pong with a plastic ball.
Passing a pickle. Well, we currently have tennis courts and no one plays tennis no more, so we're gonna take the tennis courts out and put the pickleballs in, cause that's a new range right now. Okay, so, yeah, I couldn't help but play this out.
Pickleball is fun.
Good, all right, anything else on that one?
Water, city sewer in that park area?
No,
No.
not
Well.
on that, Tyler.
No, it's a vault toilet right now,
I see.
so, which is unfortunate as far as it goes. It's been difficult to deal with. Next, we have the township hall roof. And so obviously we had approved doing various repairs to it and we've worked on those. You know, it ended up being rough. And there's a difference between people that quote projects and sometimes the people that do projects and that type of thing. When they started cutting into that along the back of the building, it was all rotted wood, so that had to be replaced. And then we have, it looks like the original 1978 gravel roof on top of this. along with a bunch of layers of roof that have been melted on top of that. And you had pockets of water that have been sitting for however many decades in between some of those. For instance, if you had roofed it when there was like a little bit of snow or ice or something that had gotten in there, that were pressurized. It's a bit of a mess. Bob's Roofing put a bunch, quite a bit of extra material and a bunch of extra time into it, but still didn't come out great. We had through the project, we had multiple leaks along the back of the building. That's happened a bunch of times in the past because we had a bunch of peeling paint in different spots, stained tiles, that type of thing. So that has occurred at various points through the project. And then in conclusion here, there was one internal wall that ended up with a decent leak. We had Surf Pro in, cut out some of the drywall, dry that up. Nate is replacing and repairing the drywall. That's why a bunch of my files are out in the hallway and whatnot. And I'm in Steve's office right now. So it was, it could have, like if that was gonna last for a few years, I think it could have worked out decent. But at this point, even the guys that were doing the work were like, the next time you touch this, you should probably be doing a complete tear off and a replacement, which obviously is not cheap. So we're back around to not being cheap.
Yeah.
But I think it would make sense to do it, and we'll get into the budget next. This kind of swings into it. I think a decent amount of the ARPA funds to the building itself, but there's different ranges there that we can do, and then the rest into roads, right? That would be the way I personally go.
Yeah. I agree.
And so I can draw up resolutions for that, which we might as well fade into the budget here, because one of them is that. So I met with DL Morris to start drawing up quotes on having a more extensive remodel in here, where I'm going to work on digitizing the documents here. We have one room that I could quote $50,000 to digitize. So I think we'll try to start doing it internally, right? We can buy some nice scanners, some nice software.
Yeah.
We can attempt to have people. Well, I don't know if I just want to throw a bunch of people from the public at all the documents
There is
necessarily.
downtime though that I think it could fit in.
Right, because we have cycles in all of our seasons, right? Maintenance has cycles, taxes have cycles, elections have cycles. And so in some of those down periods, we can start trying to get some of that stuff digitized ourselves. That's a lot to tackle. But we have all these filing cabinets lining the hall, so it's obviously, tight on space. I think the meeting room works out decent, there's more people here than normal because we had a few hearings and that type of thing. Works out decent most of the time. Obviously, we can flood this room, but I don't know if it's going to be economically viable to do any type of major expansion. Like replacing of the building would probably make sense as far as the building goes, but probably not financially. It would be so much money. And so I want to get a feel for where we want to go on this. If we want to just do a flat roof replacement and then get all of the air conditioning up to working.
Yeah.
So Steve has air conditioning this year. I left him without it last summer. He suffered through. He didn't even complain. All right. So he was a trooper. But it would make sense to get that up. And we had the other 3 units with the exposed wires and stuff. We had those repaired and brought up to snuff. But do we want, if we do that type of thing, we're probably looking at approaching $100,000 for getting, basically a roof, air conditioning that's all working. If we want to do a larger remodel of some of this inside / add an external unit, if you add an outbuilding, then you don't have to meet all the qualifications you do if it's going to be occupied all the time like offices. And so either outside of this building or just off of this building in that direction, we could add a relatively small building, but to put all the stuff that's in the filing cabinets into to free up more space in here as well. But obviously, the more stuff you add on, the more expensive it's going to get. So it's not going to be too hard to jump up to $200,000, probably for some sort of remodel, maybe just outbuilding, or $300,000 if we wanted to do all of that. Right now, they're working on. I got the blueprints to them, so they're looking at reviewing that. And they'll get me harder numbers, but they also want, a general estimate of what do we want done as far as that stuff goes.
I just have 2 thoughts. Number one, the roof obviously needs to be done, so that needs to be set up as a higher priority than we have supported in the past. So I just want to say that publicly, that
It could have worked out well, it did not.
Gotcha. And so therefore, we have to review what we have done in the past, and we don't want to repeat. And also too, whoever's elected next cycle, I don't want to push the buck, and we've got left with the buck. So now it's time to deal with it instead of pushing it off on the next board. Secondly, I really like the idea of the digitizing. I don't like the idea of an extra building at all, personally.
Why?
Cost.
Sure,
Now, here's the other reason.
that's reasonable.
And this is the other reason for that reason. If this building burns down,
Mhm.
the paperwork isn't gonna mean anything. So I do think, it doesn't mean anything, but it's lost. Whereas if we digitize it, we're doing two things. Number one, we're eliminating an area we have already taken up with paper. And number two, we're digitizing it in such a way, I know we have the fire department right next door, so hopefully it'd be like a 30-second delay time, but I'm just saying that if that happens, I think digitizing it takes care of several processes.
It's off-site.
That's true. So there are retention schedules. So some stuff we have to keep for X number of years. There's different lengths. Some stuff we have to keep forever. Right? So there's differences in that, but some of the information that we have could certainly be eliminated too. So that's true. And I could attempt to press harder and put more money into digitizing as opposed to making more room for documents. That's true.
One question too that just popped up, and I'm sure you've talked about this before, so forgive me if my memory's not that great. But what about in the maintenance shed? Is there areas in there that possibly, is that something legally that we can store documents?
So that's where that one building that I quoted for digitizing, that's already where it is.
Oh,
Yeah, it's right out there.
Well, what's really known as the Mice House, but I ozoned it and stuff when I first came in, so. Better. All right. Weekly ozone. Yeah. Good. And so, I mean, other thoughts, questions, ideas? I'll still have them, I'll attempt to have them draw up some of the options. And I request it that we get a breakdown when we're looking at things. That way we can mix and match or change a little bit as we're going through it and know which things cost. But I mean, as of now, it seems like people might be hesitant on the higher cost, which I completely get because it's a lot of money. And if we put more money in that, then it can't go somewhere else. Roads are before instance, right? So there's a balance there. And so I can go to them and say, all right, we're gonna look at doing it on the more economical side of what needs to be done to get things working.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do love the idea of the digitizing, moving towards that. But as long as we're not in a hurry, like you said, the cycles, it makes sense.
I do think the two desks, that internal area needs to be reconfigured.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is an odd setup. I mean, you can end up in the back of the desk by just wandering through. So it is kind of a weird flow. And so I can look at doing the roof. We want to get the AC stuff up to working. Initially, I was thinking pulling the AC units off the roof might make it last longer. But I've had two sets of people, disagree with me that are actually in the industry. And so I would say they probably know better. And then we would have to have our stuff majorly revamped to make that working, which obviously costs money. But I can look at roof, getting AC fully up to working, and some of the minor internal remodeling. Something in that direction, at least guide them in that direction.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as it's not all or nothing. Because the roof needs to be,
Yeah, we don't have to do an all or nothing. So,
make sure we have different breakdowns.
yep. Cool. All right. A couple other things I want to hit on the budget. So the maintenance equipment, I have in the reasoning, some of the breakdown of that over the last few days. Nate and I have been talking to people from Greenmark on John Deere and stuff. We think we can get a couple of good trade-ins for equipment that doesn't necessarily work that great for what we're using it for, and get a nicer mower, and we'll probably only have to put a couple $1,000s with it. And so that could work out well. The town hall, we've already talked about. Fire pay, so, the paid on call of firefighters have been stagnated for a number of years, and it seems reasonable that they would get some sort of a raise. So I have it written in here as 5% raise. That can be done in different ways. Obviously, it could, it can be different amounts. It can also be done as something like adding a quarter or 50 cents or $1 an hour as opposed to a percentage. But I assume, no one's going to advocate strongly for not giving the paid on-call firefighters a raise. But where are you guys on it? Are you pretty open to like what would work with the budget essentially?
Right, yeah, as long as it fits in the budget, stay in green, so to speak.
Also, everything is up, especially food.
Yeah.
I mean, not just food, but
Everything is
domino effect, but.
Okay. And the ARPA funds, so specifically in the budget, you'll see, you could come across, if I was reading through that, it'd be kind of odd because there's a TBD, right? To be determined. So for that is because when we're using it, I've been having the board pass resolutions, right? Kind of as a double check. When we're using it, we'll bring it in as a revenue and out as an expense, right? When we're using it, when we're approving it. Otherwise, me just, throwing a number in there. And so the things that we would do, we would have included elsewhere in the budget already. For instance, the building stuff, the road stuff. Even if we approve it for ARPA later, it's included in the budget under those items. And then when that occurs, when it's approved for ARPA, we'll bring it in as an ARPA revenue. And then when we pay it out as an ARPA expense, right? So that's why they're TBD. I checked with the auditor to say, all right, so I wrote TBD in this line. Initially, I just had it set up as a question mark. But I figured it was more official to put TBD. And so he said that works. He said that does work. We just have to make sure we're amending the budget to go with that, of course. So that's what that will look like. I could have it written up as page numbers. I realized that after I printed all of them.
Yeah,
So that like when we go into a work session, we can reference to each other a little easier.
Yeah, so the page after this one, after that one, just before this one.
Right. So, and it's 43 pages, and that's with all the reasoning lines, so I didn't think it came out too bad. And a decent amount of the pages when you get in the end, if they're specifically for weed treatments on the lake, something like that, where they're their own fund, they cut off the page, so they're a half page really.
Yep.
Not related to that, however, it is in the paperwork about that we sold that house on Jeff. And I just want to say that I've been driving by there and they have been improving it. Right now, it has silver siding on the outside, not siding, but insulation. So it looks like they've been really doing a lot of cleanup. So hopefully the neighborhood and the neighbors are happy with everything that the new buyers are doing and fixing it up. So it's no longer slumlord.
The only major concern I had from the neighbors is they didn't want it turned into a park. So since it's not that, and I know, I've noticed the dumpster's been out, they've been doing work to it, so. Good. Anything else on the budget? All right, we'll cover that. We can cover that line by line in detail at the working session. We get around to our our second public comments. So if anyone would like to do the public comments you're planning on, Kevin?
Anything?
Yeah, we can comment on anything.
Okay, good. I just thought when we're talking here that this double parcel.
Yep.
It's my understanding that you can't put two dwellings on one parcel. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so then if Ed was going to combine his to one, that would eliminate putting another house on it.
It would, and so what you're looking at in zoning is becoming more popular to do accessory dwelling units where you could have multiple residences, something like a mother-in-law house or something like that. I think it would be good to move in that direction, and I would like the planning commission to review that. Also, we've made many dozens of changes since I've been in office to the zoning ordinance. And so there's a certain pace that we have to tackle things on. And I've just been trying to prioritize. We have a couple of things that the planning commission is reviewing right now. And so the planning commission hasn't reviewed accessory dwelling units. I would like them to, but I don't know what that outcome would be out of the process that it goes through for that as well. But as it currently stands, one residence on a parcel.
But regardless, if you combine it, it's just gonna move to the other people.
As far as the finances, the numbers, correct, it would redistribute because the price of the project doesn't change. Right.
Everything. So instead of 24 divisions, it'd be 20 divisions.
So if we put a toll at this end and a toll at that end, only the people that can use it, that goes for that money, because just us are paying for it, so we shouldn't be able to allow anybody else down to use our nice paved road.
Private roads, there there are private roads,
You know, and I don't understand that in the whole state of Michigan. I mean, we have 94 and we have 131. Why aren't those toll roads? Because those could be used to increase our, but we have our governor that says she does every road in Michigan.
Anyways, it's something else.
And she's got the funding for all this, but she doesn't. And so
That's right.
I don't understand why, I mean, our gas tax is so high, but we have no toll roads. We get all the Detroit to Chicago semi trucks and drivers. I mean, they should be paying for some of this, besides the fuel. I mean,
Well, look at
yeah,
Illinois.
get to Chicago by, 80, 90s, that toll road, how much money does that make, so.
yeah, but I mean, none of that's within our control.
Unfortunately.
And I'm not running for a higher office.
What I'm saying is that it's not just 9 or 10 parcels that are gonna take advantage of using that cut through on Central Road.
Right.
But they'll definitely appreciate it when it's paved.
Right.
Seeing how we're paying for it. That's
Does
what
it have-
nine people.
Does it have a weight set on it yet?
I've never seen one there.
We opened up more trucking stuff, and then Akron specifically moved to Central to be able to do the trucking
Well,
stuff.
my main concern is that you have Roger Jordan's shop down here and his house here.
Mhm.
And the only way he gets his equipment is down that road
Hmm.
and it's gravel.
Right.
And when it's wet and the loader and semis and all that go down there. I mean, I have a big work truck. I mean, not a big work truck. It's just a regular 2-wheel drive, but it's a maintenance truck. And I mean, I can tell just by me going through the puddles that I'm splashing and creating divots in the road, which I don't want to do, but it's a lot of sand and, I mean, obviously just putting that crushed asphalt on there, except they put it all in the ditches, which again, that's my concern with this whole thing too, is that we have people that provide this service to us, the road commission, but yet they made the road 10 feet wider and put all the crushed asphalt into the ditches because they didn't crown it and put it in the middle and let it spread itself out. But yet, I'm not a road commission guy, but that would have been my sense, is not to grade it all into the ditch.
Right.
And then only do part of it.
Yeah, I mean, really.
And they started at the end where there's nobody, which made a lot of sense. Because had they started at this end where all the houses were, they could have got past all the houses, but they started at the paved end where there's no houses and started spreading it this way. And there's a section there where
Yeah,
there's
but
no houses.
There's no possibility of in the future you being satisfied with roads. Right? That is not a future possible scenario. It's not going to happen. You could run on every election on fixing the roads and get elected every time, but it's not going to happen.
You got these parcels, you plan on doing all these parcels, eliminating, if you have 2 parcels, combining everybody's 2 parcels? There's one that has 2 houses, so that can't happen.
I mean, I don't
The
know.
guy down the end of the road, he's not here, but I talked to him when we signed the petition. He's got 1 house on the parcel now, he's gonna put another house on the other parcel.
I mean, I don't know if anyone would be able to achieve it in a month. But if the people can start their own process, if we have multiple people that start the process and therefore they're objecting to this going through now, so the board could make the motion to make those adjustments as it is and redistribute the funds, or we could postpone it until those types of things were to go through. But I mean, if they take a couple of months, then we might throw it off for a year. And we might have to recalculate the numbers and then basically restart next year. So it's, sometimes prices don't go up, but I always figure that they will. And so I'll bring it next month and we'll see what has happened in the interim. I mean, before when we had, like on Michelinda, I tried to get everyone to object early, in the process, and one guy did, and we had a handful of people that objected right near the end. If they hadn't signed the original petition, I'm not sure the process would have started. So they're weird. I mean, they're weird processes. So there's the possibility of 100% happiness is 0%. The possibility of like 50% happiness, I think, is pretty decent, So somewhere in between there is, I don't know if it's a sweet spot, but some sort of compromise spot.
So is that what it comes down to? You got 20 owners, 11 says, yes, it's gonna happen. 11 say, no, it's not.
No, so the board, 100% of you could say yes, and the board could still just say no. I could have just never brought it to the board. So that's a lot of times why you won't see these projects, because like if you're in my position, why do you want to deal with this? So you can just not bring it to the board and then you just kill the project up front. Right? Say, listen, unless you get 100% of the signatures and stuff, we're not even going to look at it. And then even if you do, all I have to do is go talk to everyone. I guarantee I can get one objection and then just kill the project. So that's a lot of times why you won't see these brought, is just because they're a hassle. But I don't want to be the person standing in the way of people that want to upgrade their roads. And so I've been allowing them to go through. And then beyond there, it can be a judgment call. Now, if 51% of the people object, then 100% it'd be illegal for us to move forward with the special assessment. But if more than 51% of the people still approve it, 51% or more still approve it, then it's within the board's discretion. But are we going to pass something where 55% of the people approve and 45% are objecting? That would seem unlikely. Next. Good. You still wanna- Go ahead, Rachel.
Okay.
We'll get around to Kevin.
Rachel Church, your Dalton Branch Library, Muskegon Area District Library librarian. I just want to thank everybody who paid their taxes and supported the local library. Thank you very much. Thank you for keeping my job. I also want to let you know that last year, now that we're back out of the restrictions that we had, a lot of programs that things that we couldn't do inside the library, public gatherings, issues. We're bouncing back from that. In 2021, we had 9,524 public visits. And then last year, we had 17,534 visits. So a significant difference now that we're back up and running and having programs again. One big number I saw leap was Wi-Fi. People who use our Wi-Fi, which is on 24/7. Reaches out to the parking lot of the Twin Lake Elementary. In 2021, 829 hits on it. Last year, 2,935 hits on it. So that was really nice to see that people are making use of that, and we know how much that the internet is needed in our community. In 2021, we had 28,542 items checked out. And that's all physical items, books, music, audiobooks. Last year, we had 33,781 items checked out. So another significant increase. We had 107 programs just at our branch last year. And out of that, we had 1,991 people attend. So thank you to all of you who support us. Our newsletter is out there in the lobby, and you can always welcome to stop in and see me at the library. Thank you.
Thanks for the work, Rachel, and thanks for the updates.
Thank you.
So, yeah, are you still fine with waiting, McCabe?
Pardon me?
Are you still fine with waiting?
Yeah.
I know.
Al Richards on Staple Road. Kudos to changing the thought on the water connection. In 3 points. The fourth one, you're still going to proceed with charging me for something I'm not going to use.
Yeah.
And I don't really see how you justify that. I understand the vote was 4-3. And the four of you chose to force me to do something I don't want to do.
No, that already exists. It already exists.
What?
The ordinance. Well, it already exists.
The water's not run through yet. We'll talk about the water.
No one's running water by you, right? But the ordinance, the law already exists. We didn't make a new law. We changed the law that
I
already.
thought we were discussing them running water down through Dalton Township.
No, it's just, this is the law that governs water connections.
Seriously? Well, I've totally misinterpreted all of that.
So there's one, and I think this is part of the confusion, right?
Right.
So there's one project being discussed in Dalton. That's the part up 120 and then circling back around the river.
Okay.
That's because there was contamination detected at that child's daycare.
So that doesn't directly affect me?
Correct.
Fine, I'm good.
The child.
I can pay for it.
better. The child daycare applied for a state grant on their own.
Right.
That's why that project's being discussed.
Gotcha. Okay, now, okay, maybe I misunderstood this. Did you vote tonight to increase your salaries on the trustee board by 60%?
Not trustees, no.
Our trustees.
We got.
You mean the $3,000 to $5,000 that I referenced? No, that was done 2 years or 2 years ago. It went from $3,000 to $5,000. I left, because of that jump, I left the trustees as the same. I mean, it's kind of weird, you know, just determining.
I mean, I appreciate what you guys are doing and I think you're earning your money for sure.
Well, you need to come to the meeting in
Yes.
March, because we all become electors, we all are allowed to vote on the budget and any raises or whatever. That's when you need to be here, so
I'll
you
be
can vote on it.
There's a misunderstanding of that vote, right? We ran into that my first year in office. The electors don't vote on the entire budget.
Not on the entire.
They vote on the salaries for the elected officials, right? So I wrote up the clerk, treasurer, and supervisor positions as a raise this year from 43 grand, it's like 43,608, something like that, to $45,000. So if you disagree with that raise, you can show up to that meeting, and then everyone that's an elector in the meeting gets to vote, and you can just essentially say, we don't want the clerk, treasurer, and supervisor to have a raise. Most places don't do an annual meeting of the electors anymore. But with elected officials voting to give themselves raises, I think it's a good thing to have in place.
Well, yeah, you gotta have some input from the public, the people that are supposedly paying your salaries.
It's always been, it's been that way always in this township.
Yeah, it's been a tradition here, and I think it's good.
That is good.
That's why most townships get rid of it, is because they don't wanna deal.
With the public.
They can get.
Right. I believe I'm in a good location. Of course, you understand that I don't agree with you spending any ARPA funds for anything other than COVID, right? That's what it was designated for. It was COVID relief. And, you know, I've said that in the past, so I'll just express it again because we're discussing.
But I will say, like, that alternative financing for the roads.
Yeah.
Like, if we were to get money from the state through something like that, that is ARPA funds.
That's right.
Well, they would call it ARPA funds right now, but let's say COVID never existed, right? And you're a thumbnail of the federal government, right?
Yeah, we're smaller than a thumbnail, but fair enough.
So you go. So if they want to keep this place, if they want to keep this building open so that you can represent them, they should chip in and keep this place running.
Well, so
You
there's state revenue sharing. So
I mean-
53% of our budget is state revenue sharing.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I think, so most of your taxes, when you pay property taxes, very little comes to the township, a couple of percent.
We don't even know where that stuff's going, quite frankly.
It goes to a bunch of other places, right?
Not to hear.
And then it's weird because then the state gives us they give us money, not from those property taxes. So the tax system is very odd. I have recommendations for movies and books that I like to reference. I highly disagree with our tax system. I think it's a mess. I think you would need one of the greatest leaders of all time to straighten it out, and that's never going to occur.
Well, in the public school system, they're doing all kinds of things I don't agree with, but yet they're taking my tax money and supporting all that crap.
Well,
You know,
and even more than that, I would object. There's a reason that on the ballots, you get to vote for like the trustees for Wayne State University and stuff, and that's because so many of your property taxes go to them. So if your taxes go into the local library that Rachel works at, it's like, okay, well, that seems reasonable. If your taxes are going to Wayne State University, it's like, I'm never going to visit Wayne State University in my life. Right? So it seems odd. But nevertheless, yeah, it's a weird structure.
And you and I both know originally the tax system was voluntary, and it still is, but we can't really pursue it without getting the mob after us.
Oh, yeah, get thrown in prison first.
Interesting debates on that. Yeah, if you want to come up, Kevin.
Thanks, Al.
Yep.
Yes, you do.
I prefer that you stand at the lectern.
State his name and address.
Somebody else has?
First question, name and address,
Somebody else has.
Before you get started, name and address.
Name and address, please.
Everybody.
You all vote on the people.
Name and
Name and
address.
address, please.
Address, please.
Name and address, please. Your name and your address, please,
Name my address.
Yeah.
for the record.
For the,
Okay.
some people,
Kevin McCabe, 69 West Linden Street, Twin Lake, Michigan,
Thank you.
49457. Satisfactory? Okay. Now, all of a sudden it got formal.
Anyway, you said something a moment ago that caught my attention. Did you all vote on the appeal?
Yes,
You did? Okay.
I think you were here.
Pardon me?
I think you were here.
There and sat, so I didn't hear.
Yeah.
Then you said something else too about, that you was not, someone told you that you could ignore me? Who told you that?
Yeah, I can ignore you.
You can, I know you.
I certainly try.
See,
to ignore
legally,
McCabe, right?
legally, can you ignore me?
There's certain things we can ignore and certain things we can't. So obviously we have to respond to your FOIAs, right? And so, but I mean,
Well, no, I'm not interested in there. Did your attorney advise you that you can ignore my complaints?
we have discretion to ignore some of that type of stuff. We can't ignore FOIAs, but it's to our discretion.
No, my complaints. Did your attorney advise you of that?
It's at our discretion to do enforcements.
Did your attorney advise you of that?
Yeah.
You gotta understand, he gets paid to defend you.
Nope. There's a built-in conflict of
It makes
interest.
no sense. It's a no-brainer. He's gonna tell you to go this way so that he can get paid for it.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking forward to a court case with you, McCabe.
Never mind, that's.
I mean, you're a horrible
I'm satisfied
person,
with what you
right?
answered.
So,
Anyway, I'm assuming that you got my complaints notice. You been getting my emails?
I get your emails. I don't respond to them.
Well, I didn't ask if you respond. I know you don't respond to them, duh.
Well, it's good you caught on.
Okay, so, but you've gotten all of them, right? I don't really need to give you any of this stuff. No, really, you've gotten it all.
You know, you're only the second person since I've been in office that I ignore. The other one I have, there's some hearings happening
Well,
about
that's fine, you can ignore me. all you
death
want.
threats to
The
me.
reason I'm here in this meeting, I wanna make sure you got all this stuff. You got all this, you got all
We get
this.
it all.
You got it
We
all.
get it all.
I have your picture included in the publicly available packet. I have your appeal included in the publicly available
Great,
packet.
Great. So now I can move on. I just don't want you to delete anything or. Anyway. Your code official has a duty. He's licensed by the state of Michigan. The state government, the state regulates him, not you. Okay, so he has a duty to administer and enforce not only the building code, but the IPMC.
International Property Maintenance Code.
Okay.
And so I'll hit
It's
on.
a statewide.
I'll hit on this. Well, it's international, right? International is larger than state, but it's passed by the state Congress. So I don't like the fact that international organizations are recommending down to the small level these types of minute controls, right? It's a tendency towards totalitarianism.
Socialism.
And so I have
You adopted it.
I have looked into if we could adjust that to move away from the
No.
International Property Code
No.
into just guideline. But because the state Congress has passed it, we cannot, right? So he's advocating for the
You're wrong though. You can't.
international
The
organizations.
city of Grand Rapids actually adopted their own code, but it has to be very, very comparable to that one. That's the only way that the state would allow them to do it. It has to be very, very close. So anyway, and this is just a notice to your fire official over here that, you know.
I received it, thank you.
Did you get that?
Mhm.
Perfect.
As I stated previously in the meeting, I do not appreciate you harassing the fire department.
You have an email. I'm not harassing him. I'm giving him attention to his duties as a fire official.
No,
And
sir.
you answer to the state fire marshal.
Sir, this,
You answer to the state
Sir,
fire marshal.
sir,
So,
state
and
fire
your-
marshal,
and your
sir.
code official answers to the BCC and LARA. And you answer to the state attorney general's office.
You just have to understand that the building official handles that, not the fire chief. Thank you. Have a
It's
good day,
right
sir.
there.
I don't
I
handle
gave it
that.
to you.
I know you did.
Because your roller don't mean it. I didn't write it. I took it right out of the book.
Correct. And it says the building official. The
No,
building
it
official for
says
Dalton
when you
Township
see
is the
something,
building.
when you see something, you're required to report it to the building.
Right, I don't go there.
I know.
traveled all 7,000
I got that
houses
on my
in Dalton
subject here.
Township,
It's
I'm
called,
busy, but not as busy as you, sir.
I got that on my subject. It's
It's
called
within our discretion.
willful blindness or ignorance.
It's within
Right
our
here,
discretion.
number
McCabe,
7.
bring the court case. Bring me to
I'm not
court.
gonna bring a court case. I'm gonna bring criminal action.
Bring me to court. The criminal action would be a court.
It would be,
And
them coming after you. You're not enforcing it. You have a duty to enforce it. The state regulates it. You admitted yourself that you can't vary from the IPMC. You can't vary from the state building code. You have a code official that is ignoring it. Why is he ignoring it?
That's for the people to hear. The
Right here.
people,
Here's
a
the
lot
reason
of
why
people
he's
will not realize what we're dealing with, and a lot of people know McCabe.
Fill them in back.
It's been a problem for a while, but a lot of people won't know McCabe.
Here's the reason why your code official is ignoring it.
And so,
Fee for pay.
let me give you an
Fee for pay.
example.
That's why.
If someone reports you to the township for an enforcement, right, which there's a wide variability on this. It's the reason I have the enforcement processes that I've been working on is because rule of law is very important, almost the definition of civilization itself. That's why I've been working on due process, these types of things. This is, I mean, it existed in Rome and Greece to a certain extent, but really when you start hitting the Magna Carta in 1215 and building from there, this is why we have what we have as a society and why the society is oddly peaceful in comparison to human history, right? But then you have bad actors that act in bad faith, like McCabe, that wants to report everyone that they possibly can for everything. And you have this creep of a set of totalitarian laws that makes it illegal to be poor. A lot of those people don't function well, right? And I feel bad about enforcing things against them. But I'm trying to strike a reasonable balance of moving it in a good direction on this. And I think one of the most important things is to have a solid process in place. Now, if you get someone like McCabe that gets his PRE denied, and so he essentially wants to harass me into giving him a tax exemption, it's these bad actors are why, right? This acting in bad faith with bad intention is to a large extent
irrelevant.
Why these positions are horrible to hold. And why
It's irrelevant.
why the bad feedback mechanisms result in bad governance, right?
Are
So,
you
but
taking
it's,
up my
but it's
time
important.
here?
It's important for McCabe to speak because people should know who's organizing a group to go report them, right? Like that's reasonable.
Like Clay Orriston, that he targets people that can't defend themselves or elderly people.
We're complaining.
Look at his yearly
That he didn't.
achievements for
You're
2022.
literally turning
Five
people
of them.
in.
He's got 5 of them, and he pats himself on the back to the point, I think he breaks his arm or bruises his back.
What's yours?
Huh?
That's his job. What's yours?
We need a motion to adjourn.
I'm the public.
You're one person.
You're one individual.
That's who makes me the public.
You're 9,427.
When that one person complains, when one
It is public comment.
when one person
We
complains,
can cut it off at public comment. Does everyone understand why McCabe is a bad person?
Yes.
Amen.
Okay, then I'm satisfied.
you complain to 333.
So,
Motion to adjourn?
all right, one public comment. Motion to adjourn by Renee, support by Nola. Do we have any discussion among the board?
No.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Adjourn.
This day forward, consider it a willful neglect of duty, pal.